Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show that cuts through the noise and gets you straight to the most important insights. Today, we're tackling that question that seems to haunt pretty much every iPhone owner. Should I upgrade now or, should I wait?
It really is the ultimate tech dilemma, isn't it? Every single year, the rumors start swirling, and we all kind of wonder if this year is the year to make the jump.
Absolutely. And our mission today is to do a real deep dive into the upcoming iPhone 17. It's expected, around September 2025. We've pulled together insights from recent articles, some deep Reddit discussions, and the latest industry reports, all to help you understand if the iPhone 17 is truly worth holding out for. Or, if that classic advice, wait for next year, maybe applies a bit differently this time around.
Yeah, because let's be honest, the common feeling is always next year's model will always be better. It's almost a given. But the buzz around the iPhone 17, it suggests it might just bring more than just those small iterative changes. We're potentially talking some pretty significant shifts, things that could make a lot of people really sit up and take notice.
Okay, so let's unpack this classic tech dilemma then. We see this comment constantly on forums, right? Next year's model will always be better. Is that just like a truism, or is there actually a strategic play for users here?
It's fascinating how that plays out in reality, because while it's true, obviously technology moves forward every year, most people don't actually upgrade because Apple announces some single, groundbreaking feature.
Right.
More often than not, the real trigger is their current phone just isn't cutting it anymore. It has a genuine pain point.
Right, like it's actively annoying you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about it. The phone is consistently slowing down, maybe it's freezing up, or even doing random restarts, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We saw an example in the source discussions, an iPhone 12 Pro Max user. They were upgrading for exactly those reasons, slow, freezing, or someone else still rocking an iPhone 11 Pro Max, desperately needing more storage and a new battery because their 64 GB is just constantly full. Those are the practical, everyday frustrations that actually drive most upgrades in the real world.
That makes a ton of sense. The phone just starts getting in the way of what you need to do. But okay, what about those of us who are, generally happy with our current phone? Is there ever a good year to upgrade strategically, or like a specific reason to hold out?
Oh, absolutely. There definitely are. We sometimes call these milestone features. These are the really significant shifts that genuinely change the user experience or offer some kind of undeniable convenience. Think back to the transition to USB-C with the iPhone 15 Pro models. For a lot of people, that was a milestone.
Yeah, I remember that being a big deal for some.
Right. It let users finally unify their charging cables across different devices, a huge convenience. And it prompted a lot of upgrades, even from people whose old phones were, mostly fine otherwise.
Yeah.
Looking ahead now, the sort of emerging need for more RAM, specifically to properly support advanced AI features directly on the device, that's shaping up to be another one of those potential drivers. It could make the iPhone 17 a real milestone year for a different group of users.
Okay, and speaking of upgrades, it always feels like our old iPhones are, I don't know, like bananas on the counter. Their value just keeps dropping the longer you wait. Is there a sweet spot for trading in to get the most, bang for your buck?
Yeah, they really do plummet in value, don't they? Especially in those weeks leading up to a new model launch. The depreciation is pretty significant. Take the iPhone 14 Pro Max, the 1 TB version. That thing lost over 8.3% of its value, which was like $133 in just 4 weeks before the iPhone 15 even launched.
That's in 4 weeks.
Yeah. And then it plunged even further the moment the iPhone 15 was officially announced.
Yeah.
So to maximize your trade-in value, the data really suggests waiting until, say, late August or early September, right before the iPhone 17's expected release. That seems to be the optimal window. And, practical tips to get the absolute most cash. Keep the device in good shape, physically, obviously. Clean it thoroughly before you trade it in. Perform a factory reset. Keep an eye on the battery health. Make sure it's unlocked. Little things that add up. And interestingly, even broken iPhones can still fetch some cash sometimes, which is, better than nothing.
Good tips. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Forget just next year being better. The iPhone 17 sounds like it might bring some really significant shifts. Let's talk about the lineup itself, because I hear there's some big changes coming there.
You heard right. It sounds like Apple's shaking things up quite a bit.
Yeah.
We're looking at a rumored 4 models expected in 2025. You've got the standard iPhone 17, the iPhone 17 Pro, the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and then an all-new iPhone 17 Air.
Air. So like the MacBooks.
Kind of, yeah. This lineup signals a bit of a strategic shift. The Plus model, which apparently didn't sell too well, is reportedly being discontinued. And the Air is set to replace it. It's positioned as a new mid-tier option. Expected price is around $899, so it fits neatly between the standard 17, probably it's $799, and the Pro model starting higher, maybe $999 and up. Yeah. It looks like Apple's trying to hit a new price point and maybe a different form factor, especially for people who want a larger screen but don't need all the Pro features or price tag.
Okay, so Apple's really shaking up the core models. Does this new strategy extend to the look and feel? Are we finally getting a fresh design language?
It certainly seems like it could be a bigger change than usual. For years, we've seen, subtle refinements, tweaks here and there. But the iPhone 17 is rumored to introduce a more noticeable design shift. The iPhone 17 Air, for instance, is rumored to be significantly thinner.
Thinner? How thin are we talking?
Potentially Apple's thinnest iPhone ever. Maybe around a 5.5 millimeter chassis, which is pretty wild. I mean, to put that in perspective, the famously slim iPhone 6 was 6.9 millimeter. So, yeah, really thin.
Wow.
This isn't just a minor tweak. It suggests Apple might be pushing boundaries on form factor again, maybe rethinking internal components to achieve that. And meanwhile, the standard iPhone 17 might also get a new splicing process for a smoother transition between its frame and the back glass, supposedly eliminating harsher edges, making it feel more seamless and comfortable to hold.
That thin air model sounds ambitious. Does this new aesthetic carry over to the materials as well? I always thought stainless steel was kind of the defining premium feature for the Pro models.
Well, that's another potentially significant shift. We're seeing rumors pointing towards a return to all aluminum frames for all iPhone 17 models. And yes, that includes the high-end Pro and Pro Max variants.
All aluminum, even the Pros.
Even the Pros, according to these reports. That would be a first for the premium iPhones since the stainless steel iPhone X back in 2017. For the Pro models specifically, they're expected to have a sort of half aluminum, half glass back. It's designed to maintain wireless charging capability, but potentially improve overall durability too. Could also be a strategic move, maybe related to Vision Pro integration, or perhaps just reducing manufacturing complexity or cost. Hard to say for sure.
Fascinating. A big change. And what about the cameras, visually speaking? That square bump has been pretty iconic for a while now. Is that getting a refresh too?
Yeah, get ready for a potentially distinctive change there as well. The familiar square camera bump, rumored to be shifting to a distinctive aluminum camera bar, something that spans the width of the device, at least on the Pro and Air model.
But a bar, okay.
Yeah. So the iPhone 17 Air, because it's so thin, will likely feature just a single lens within that horizontal bar. The Pro models, though, will still house a larger rectangular bump within that bar, containing the three lenses, maybe in a kind of triangular arrangement. But interestingly, the standard iPhone 17 is expected to keep the iPhone 16's vertical 2-lens setup. So we'll see some clear visual differentiation across the lineup.
Okay, so potentially a radical new design, a new lineup structure. But how will all this power and these new features actually feel when you're using the phone day to day? Let's talk displays. So we're getting bigger screens, and crucially, is that smoother scrolling finally coming to the non-Pro models?
Yes, to both it seems, and this is actually a pretty big deal. First, sizes. Standard iPhone 17 is expected to grow slightly to 6.3 inches, matching the 17 Pro. The Air model is pegged at 6.6 inches, and the Pro Max at a large 6.9 inches. But the most exciting display rumor, I think, and one that really democratizes a key premium feature, is 120 Hz ProMotion potentially coming to all iPhone 17 models.
Wait, all of them, even the standard 17 in the Air?
That's the rumor. It would be a first for non-Pro iPhones. And it means incredibly smoother scrolling, more fluid animations, just a much more premium feel. It could also enable always-on display functionality across the board thanks to the underlying LTPO OLED tech, which lets the screen adjust its refresh rate dynamically to save power. It really elevates the baseline iPhone experience fundamentally.
Wow, okay. Bringing promotion to all models really changes the game for the standard iPhones. That's huge. And what about the dynamic island? Is it shrinking, staying the same, or?
The rumors there are a bit conflicting, actually. Some sources suggest we might see a narrower dynamic island, at least on the Pro Max, maybe due to new metal lens technology that could make components like the Face ID sensors much smaller. But other reports anticipate little change for this generation. So honestly, the jury's still out on that one.
Okay.
And also, there was some buzz earlier about a new super hard anti-reflective layer for for better scratch resistance. Sounded great. But more recent reports suggest that plan might have been canceled, apparently due to challenges in scaling up manufacturing. It's just a good reminder that not all these early rumors actually make it to the final product.
Right, plans change. Okay, moving beyond the surface then, what's under the hood? Especially with all this buzz around AI, what are we looking at for performance? How will these phones handle those really intensive tasks?
Performance-wise, we're expecting the next generation of Apple silicon, likely the A19 or A19 Pro chips, across all the iPhone 17 models. These should be built on an upgraded 3-nanometer process called N3P, which in simple terms just means they're packing even more power and efficiency into that tiny chip space. So you should see noticeable speed gains, better battery life for demanding stuff.
And RAM. That seems critical for AI now.
Absolutely critical. And the rumors on RAM are a bit varied. Some sources suggest 12 GB for the Pro Max, and the new Air model, but maybe only 8 GB for the standard 17. However, other reliable sources are claiming all iPhone 17 models could get 12 GBs of RAM. And that increased RAM is just incredibly important, not just for smoother multitasking, but crucially for running those complex large language model or LLM-based Apple Intelligence features directly on the device, rather than relying only on the cloud.
Right, so more RAM directly supports better on-device AI. What's the kind of broader AI outlook then for the iPhone 17, given this is such a huge industry trend right now?
Yeah, this is clearly where Apple is making a major strategic bet. That Tech Insights report we looked at, it really highlights generative AI as the primary force expected to sort of reignite consumer demand in the mobile market in 2025. And Apple is obviously focusing heavily on AI through its Apple Intelligence suite, which will be a part of iOS 26, presumably. Now, while the iPhone 16 was maybe seen as a sort of beta for Apple's AI ambitions.
It's a starting point.
Exactly. The iPhone 17, with more RAM and potentially that A19 chip, could offer a drastically better and more fleshed out AI experience. But it's also important to acknowledge some anticipated AI features, like maybe a fully revamped Siri, seem to have faced internal setbacks, maybe delayed into 2026. It just shows how complex developing truly intelligent, reliable on-device AI really is.
Makes sense. And with all that power, especially the AI processing, how's Apple planning to manage the heat? Thermal throttling is always a potential issue, particularly with these super thin designs we're talking about.
That's a great question, and yeah, definitely a concern. It looks like Apple is trying to address that head-on. The iPhone 17 lineup is rumored to feature a vapor chamber heatsink, possibly for all models, though some reports differ. Think of it like a more sophisticated internal cooling system. It's designed to efficiently spread heat away from the processor over a larger area.
Okay, so better cooling.
Yeah, basically. It helps prevent thermal throttling, when your phone gets too hot, and slows itself down to protect the components. It's especially beneficial for slim devices like that rumored Air, and really crucial for maintaining consistent performance during intense gaming or heavy AI processing. Although it's worth noting, some sources suggest the standard iPhone 17 might still rely more on traditional heat spreaders, which could mean it might throttle a bit earlier under really sustained loads compared to the Pro models.
Interesting difference there. Okay, let's shift gears. For so many people, the camera is the absolute deal breaker. What kind of leaps are we potentially seeing in photography and videography? What would make someone upgrade just for the cameras?
Well, there's one really significant upgrade expected for all iPhone 17 models, and that's on the front. A jump to a 24-megapixel front-facing camera featuring a 6-element lens.
The 24 megapixels on the front, wow.
Yeah, it's a substantial improvement over the previous 12-megapixel front cameras we've had for years. It means your selfies will just have better quality, even if you crop or zoom in. Finer details, enhanced overall image quality. And for video calls, it should be a really noticeable step up too.
That is a huge leap for the front camera. But the real heavy lifting, for a lot of users anyway, is the main rear camera system. You mentioned earlier a potential trio of 48-megapixel lenses for the pros. Does that mean just more detail, or does it unlock more advanced capabilities too?
It likely implies both, actually. The iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max models are potentially featuring that trio of 48-megapixel lenses wide, ultra-wide, and a new tetraprism telephoto. If true, they'd be the first iPhones with an entirely 48MP rear camera system. That means significantly more detail and flexibility right across the board. We're talking about the potential for 8K video recording, finally. That's a massive jump from the current 4K.
Right.
And maybe even dual video recording, capturing video from the front and rear cameras simultaneously. Great for content creators. But the really intriguing rumor, and something you mostly see in dedicated cameras, is the possibility of a mechanical variable aperture for the Pro models.
A mechanical aperture on an iPhone.
Yeah. Think of it like the iris of your eye, or like on a professional DSLR camera lens. It physically opens and closes to control exactly how much light hits the sensor. This gives you way more creative control over things like depth of field, blurring backgrounds for those nice portraits, and should improve performance in varied lighting conditions.
Oh, and the 5x optical zoom, that's expected to remain a Pro-exclusive feature.
A mechanical variable aperture that's genuinely revolutionary territory for mobile photography if that pans out. But what about the super thin iPhone 17 Air? Can it possibly pack all that advanced camera tech given how thin it's supposed to be? That's a really sharp observation. And yeah, probably not. Because of its extreme thinness and the resulting internal space constraints, the iPhone 17 Air will likely feature just a single-lens 48-megapixel fusion camera, which means it probably won't be able to capture spatial video or photos in the same way the dual-lens Pro models do. Unless Apple comes up with some new single-lens method, which isn't currently rumored, it's likely one of the necessary trade-offs for achieving that ultra-slim design.
Makes sense. Okay, battery life. Always, always a top concern for users. What's the word on power and charging for these new devices, especially for those of us who live in fear of the midday top-up?
Oh, you're definitely not alone there. Well, for the slimmer models like that iPhone 17 Air, there's a rumor about Apple adopting silicon anode batteries. This is a pretty clever battery tech. Basically, it allows batteries to store more energy in a smaller physical space. So Apple could potentially make the phone incredibly thin without really compromising on battery life, or maybe even extending it significantly compared to current models of similar size.
Interesting tech.
Yeah. And the iPhone 17 Pro Max is also expected to get a slightly larger battery capacity, partly due to a small increase in its physical depth. So more power is likely on the way for the biggest model, too. And connecting back to that AI discussion, Apple Intelligence and iOS 26 are also expected to bring more AI-powered adaptive battery management. Basically, the phone learns your usage patterns to optimize performance and energy consumption, aiming to stretch that battery life even further throughout the day.
That AI-powered battery management sounds really promising. What about charging speeds? Are we finally getting any faster there?
Well, on the wired front, we're likely seeing a continuation of the current 35W wired charging speeds, which is, respectable but not industry-leading. But wirelessly, there's potential support for the next generation Qi 2.2 wireless charging standard. Now, technically, Qi 2.2 is capable of up to 50W output, which sounds great, but there's absolutely no guarantee the iPhone 17 will actually charge at that maximum speed. Apple often caps these things for thermal or battery health reasons.
Right, typical Apple.
Exactly. Also, on a related note, the easier-to-remove electric adhesive system they introduced for batteries, that simplifies battery replacements down the line. That's expected to continue, which is a small but actually significant user-friendly detail for long-term ownership and repairability.
Good to hear. And finally, what about how these devices connect to the world around them, both, literally and figuratively? Any big shifts in connectivity? 5G, Wi-Fi?
Yeah, Apple's making some interesting strategic moves here, moving towards greater independence in designing its own components, which definitely has implications for connectivity. The iPhone 17 Air, for example, might be one of the very first iPhones to incorporate an Apple-designed 5G modem, though initially it might be limited to sub-6 GHz speeds, meaning the absolute fastest mmWave 5G probably won't be powered by Apple's own chip just yet, at least not on that specific model.
Okay, phasing it in.
Seems like it. But perhaps more significantly for everyday use, all iPhone 17 models are expected to feature Apple's first custom-designed Wi-Fi chip. And it's rumored to support Wi-Fi 7. Now, this isn't just about hitting faster peak speeds. Wi-Fi 7 promises lower latency and better reliability, especially in crowded network environments, which is huge for things like cloud gaming, high-res video calls, AR experiences, just generally a smoother, more robust internet connection.
Wi-Fi 7, okay. And what about the physical SIM card? Is that finally on its way out for good? Feels like we've been talking about that for years.
It really does seem like it's heading that way, in more places at least. There's mention again of the potential removal of the physical SIM slot in more countries for the iPhone 17 lineup, and specifically that extremely thin iPhone 17 Air. It's expected to lack a physical SIM tray entirely. It'll likely be eSIM only, partly to help achieve that incredible thinness.
Wow. Okay, so putting it all together, the iPhone 17 looks like it could be a really packed upgrade cycle for a lot of people. Some genuinely significant advancements rumored across the board. But let's maybe zoom out for a second. What does this whole deep dive tell us about the larger trends in the mobile market and maybe where Apple is headed in the years beyond 2025?
Yeah, it reveals quite a lot about Apple's longer-term strategy, I think. First, that Tech Insights report we mentioned, it really hammers home that generative AI is seen as the key driver for reigniting consumer demand in the mobile space in 2025. And Apple is clearly investing heavily there, right? Increasing DRAM for those AI capabilities, even though it comes with higher production costs. This deep focus on powerful on-device AI will likely continue to be a major differentiator for Apple moving forward, moving beyond just simple features to truly integrated helpful intelligence.
And what about phone designs evolving? We hear so much about foldables from other manufacturers. Where does Apple fit in there?
Well, the industry broadly anticipates foldable devices becoming more mainstream, that's clear. Apple's own foldable iPhone. Well, that's currently rumored for fall 2026. Though there have apparently been some production delays along the way. But interestingly, it's still rumored to feature a nearly invisible crease, which really highlights Apple's typically cautious, long-game approach to new form factors, doesn't it? They seem willing to wait until they feel the technology and the user experience is truly perfected before they jump in.
Classic Apple. What about the ultimate dream, though? A truly all-screen iPhone. No dynamic island, no notch, just pure, uninterrupted display. How close are we to that holy grail?
The all-screen dream. Display analyst Ross Young has put out an intriguing roadmap that pushes that vision forward. It projects under-panel Face ID sensors by around 2028, which would mean a much smaller notch, or maybe just a tiny pinhole, replacing the dynamic island. And then the selfie camera itself moving under the panel by maybe 2030, leading finally to that truly uninterrupted all-screen display.
2030, wow, still a ways off.
It is, and it's a fascinating long-term vision, though it's worth noting other reports, like from Mark Gurman, had maybe targeted an all-screen iPhone for as early as 2027. It just emphasizes that these long-term plans are constantly evolving, right? They're subject to change based on technological breakthroughs and, crucially, manufacturing realities. Can they actually build it reliably at scale?
Good point. Are there any other little tantalizing rumors for iPhones beyond the 17 that hint at even more future innovations down the road?
Oh, absolutely. The rumor mill never stops. The iPhone 18 Pro models, for instance, could potentially feature that variable aperture main camera we talked about for the 17 Pro, maybe refining it further. And they'd likely get Apple's even more advanced 2nm A20 chip, which would be another significant leap in performance and efficiency. There's even been talk further out of a possible 200-megapixel camera in a future iPhone, matching sensor technology we've seen in some rival Android devices. It just shows Apple is constantly thinking several generations ahead, always pushing the boundaries of what's possible in mobile tech.
So if we circle back and look at the big picture of upgrade cycles, especially with all these potential advancements packed into the iPhone 17, what's the takeaway?
Well, it really seems to confirm that trend we've been seeing, right? Many users are settling into longer upgrade cycles now, maybe 2 to 3 years or even 5 years for some people. And the iPhone 17, if these rumors pan out with its potential design refresh, the significant display upgrades like Promotion for All and that strong AI focus, it might represent a particularly significant, really compelling jump for those coming from much older devices, say an iPhone 13 or maybe even a 14. But for current iPhone 16 owners, while there are definitely notable improvements rumored, the jump might feel, less essential. It really depends on their specific needs and which features they personally prioritize.
Wow, okay. That was a truly deep dive into the future of the iPhone. Seriously, fascinating stuff. From the nitty-gritty rumored specs and that strategic shift in the lineup, all the way to the grand vision of an all-screen device someday. It's clear Apple has a lot in the pipeline, and the iPhone 17 specifically is shaping up to be a potentially very interesting release cycle.
Indeed it is. And what's really fascinating here, I think, is how you see these iterative steps. The yearly chip bumps, the camera tweaks combined with occasional genuine milestone features like maybe Promotion for All models this time, and also Apple's strategic responses to those broader tech trends like the huge push into on-device AI. It all builds towards this coherent long-term strategy, even if year to year it sometimes feels like we're always just waiting for the next big thing.
Right. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, as you're pondering your next iPhone move? Is the iPhone 17 shaping up to be the one that finally makes you pull the trigger and upgrade, especially if you're maybe on an older model like the 13 or 14? Or is that old wait for next year adage still maybe the smartest play for your specific needs and budget?
Yeah, and as we've heard throughout this discussion, the best iPhone isn't just about ticking boxes on a spec sheet, is it? It's really about what truly enhances your daily experience and, crucially, addresses your specific pain points with your current device. So as you weigh your options, maybe ask yourself, is this the year Apple finally delivers the killer feature you've personally been waiting for? Or does your current phone honestly still have plenty of life left in it? And maybe think about what aspect of your current phone frustrates you the most on a daily basis. That might just be your clearest indicator of whether now or maybe next year is the right time for you.